Okay. All right. Thank you, Chris Story. Um, a lot of experience in executive protection and physical and corporate security. I think these are great conversations to have because uh, oftentimes the physical side, takes way or steps aside for cyber because the cyber piece is new. It's continually persistent, and the threat vectors are exponentially greater than one or two people walking into your place of business or places of business. Oftentimes, structure doesn't really support the organizational structure doesn't support who's who in the school. In other words, who takes the lead? Is it cyber? Is it the CSO that has no cyber experience, et cetera? So to echo what Frank's comments were earlier was that we need to focus on results-oriented security versus who's going to do what and who gets the goal and what the tactic or technique or procedure to execute that is. I think that COVID has really forced us really forced us to converge, right? Where we were hesitant from an ego perspective, i.e. who should be the boss. As we look at those results, it's really forced that idea that, hey, look, we're all in this to reduce risk for the organization. And I think that from a physical perspective, we can really learn from the cyber folks who hunt the hunters, if you will. So from a physical perspective, we're very, very static. We're very, wait and see, let's respond, or moreover, let's react to what's going on in our area, rather than using the risk intelligence, whether, most risk intelligence is seen as at a global scale, where that doesn't necessarily affect your footprint if you're regional. So I think the tactical focus on intelligence, again, what can hurt me, makes a difference. The challenging piece is that with both sides, cyber and physical, is that how do we respond, and what does that response look like? Where we can converge a little bit more is that when we see infrastructure attacks, oftentimes the damage requires a physical response. So integrating that in, like Mike was talking about, how do we work together to better secure the organization, essentially, instead of, break down these silos and say, hey, I understand ones and zeros a lot more than you do. And then from a physical side, we say, well, we're in tech too, but we really just, we're really super users of that. So education on our side is going to be helpful. And then lastly, the hunting piece, again, I think is important. I think the physical security side or corporate security can learn a lot from the techniques, tactics, and procedures from the cyber side, because going out, instead of waiting for the attacker, how do we better identify them? How do we better identify those behaviors, and then redirect that attack or trajectory of attack before we have to respond? So I think if we could work together on that, and we can learn a lot from each other in those aspects.
Yeah, it really does. That partnership makes such a world of difference. And, I mean, I find in my experience, it was very, very separate a few years ago, even when we had this first forum. And now I find myself increasingly relying on our corporate security experts and the law enforcement background they often bring too. When I call up law enforcement and have packaged something up for attribution, sometimes the reaction is like, who are you? But if I partner with our corporate security folks who understand that side of things, it just produces so much more of an effective response to do that jointly.
Right. I mean, to continue, Rich was talking about on-premise and off-premise. And I think we've got to understand, like from a physical perspective, what is the organization's role in off-premise physical security, if any? Previously, many organizations had folks working from home and it wasn't a consideration. Really, the question is if you work from home, what responsibility does the organization have, to provide a physical, security for you, if any, which leaves now most of the workforce is working from home. There's a reduced staff, but we still have these large footprints to protect from an infrastructure standpoint. Less people coming in, thought process to reduce physical security footprints, to either access control systems or whatever. But this full circle goes back to, are your ports secure? Is it easy for somebody to walk in, drop a device that pushes out intellectual property? So how do we execute this? How do we plan? what do we plan for to make sure the organization is completely secure as we've got reduced staffing or diverse off-premise staffing, and we still have to secure the infrastructure.
Yeah, definitely. Well said, Chris. And I mean, I think Anthony even brought up a great point in the chat about the role of sometimes protecting us as the cyber people as we're investigating and responding to bad folks. But thank you for your comments, Chris. I'll take it back over to Rich.